everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Breaking Out of the Business Model Box podcast series. I'm very excited because today we have Dustin Hogan with us. Dustin, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, why don't you start by sharing a little bit more about you and what you do?
Sure. So, I run a business called the Rockstar Academy. And what we have is a cutting-edge system of events and coaching and accountability groups. And we work with passionate people who want to craft their life and a business around what it is that they're passionate about. So artists, creative types, or people that just have something they love and they want to turn that into a business, or they just want to start monetizing it. So I help them get clear on what exactly it is and then develop all the systems that they need and provide, a solid dose of inspiration whenever they need that as well too.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, today we're talking about kind of breaking out of the model, and something that you and I have connected around is speaking as a way to build a funnel. And speaking is something that's been around for a while, obviously, but this day and age with all the online marketing, we tend to forget that that's an option. So
Definitely.
I would love for you to share more about kind of the events that you do and how you found yourself doing speaking versus what a lot of other people do, which is just online marketing and that sort of thing.
For sure. So I've got a business background. Like, I've had small businesses, kind of, that's all I've ever done. I haven't done the 9 to 5 ever. But then I also had a background just as a hobby as a DJ. So I've been a professional DJ for about the last 15 or 16 years. And, as I started to do that more and then started turning that into a business and was obviously super, super passionate about it. And it was the entire performance aspect that I loved. I loved being on stage and just connecting with the audience through music. So then about 4 or 5 years ago, I joined a Toastmasters club here in Vancouver because I knew that I wanted to practice speaking as just a skill to have. And the funny thing is once I started doing speeches and presentations, I was getting that same kind of connected feeling to the audience that I had when I was DJing. But it was an even like a deeper level because now I'm starting to share my ideas and my concepts and people are resonating with that. And then all of a sudden this light bulb went off. I'm like, cool, maybe this could be something. There was no plan to be a speaker or to start doing any sort of seminars or anything like that. So that was the kind of the start of it. And then, the next step was combining the two. So I actually started to do like inspirational talks where I would DJ during the speech, and people were really, really into that. And for me, it was amazing because now I'm bringing two of my passions together in one thing and creating something new in the middle. So now fast forward a couple of years to right now, in the last, say, 18 months or so, I've made the shift from, pursuing just 100% music and DJing as my passion to now speaking and really incorporating, keynotes and then now seminars to not only connect with my audience, but to start building an audience and to really market. And it's been phenomenal because for me, I love being on stage and I love the whole performance aspect of it. So for me, that's really one of the reasons that I gravitated towards wanting to start up a seminar business, so to speak. I could easily deliver this content online, and for sure, at some point I will, but for me in the local area and then even moving out to other cities in the next year or two, the being on stage is awesome. Like, I love that immediate feedback, and then I love being able to connect with people after, and thing is they resonate with you or they don't, and it's a super quick way to figure that out.
Yeah. Well, I love that you brought in the DJ aspect to the speaking. Will you share a little bit more about what that looked like?
Totally, yeah. It was, for a long time, it was an idea. It was just like, okay, maybe how can I incorporate these two together? And then I had the opportunity to test it out. And I'm the kind of person that I don't like to, most of the time, I don't like to share my ideas or my thoughts or my goals with people. I'll just like to do it, see what happens, and get instant reaction. So it was funny because my girlfriend, my now fiance, she never saw the talk. She never even heard me describe it to her. I just invited her to the presentation. She was carrying all my DJ gear and all this stuff. She's like, what are you doing today? Because she'd been to other speeches. And then, the presentation started, and I had a group of about 120 people at 8:30 on a Saturday morning up dancing with glow sticks to like EDM. And the average age of that group was about 65.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, cool. Maybe I'm on to something here. So that was like the first stepping stone. Not all my presentations are like that, but they certainly have that kind of very interactive and performance-based component to it. Even when I'm telling stories from stage, they're very like involved. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about how it works for you when you're bringing in new clients from these events. What does that look like for you?
So, I mean, it's very new to me right now. Over the last, like, let's say, year and a half, it's just been me doing like a keynote at somebody else's event. So someone else books the venue, they book all of the speakers, they get, maybe 10 to 12 speakers. We have, 10 to 30 minutes on stage, deliver value, and then potentially offer something at the end or just connect with people after that and exchange information and go from there. But recently now I've jumped into my own events where it's just me, it's just my content. It's like a 2-hour introductory event where some people come in, they get a ton of value, they can connect with me, and then really decide right away if they want to move to the next step, which would be a longer event, a 3-day event. And the cool thing is people essentially filter themselves through the process. I always want it to be a very natural thing, never like they feel like they're being hard sold or anything like that. It's just like we're meant to be or we're not meant to be, and no hard feelings either way, So that's kind of where things are at right now. So I just had my first event on Tuesday, the 20th, 2-hour event. It was phenomenal. I was expecting 100 people were there. We had about 112, so that was good.
Awesome.
We've got another 2-hour event on November 1st, and then my first 3-day event is November 17th to 19th here in Vancouver.
Very awesome. So again, I love it because right now you don't do anything one-on-one. Is that correct?
No, but I was for the last year to just kind of create my systems actually. And the people that I was working with knew that we were testing the waters together. So I got a ton of feedback because I was very open to them from the start. I said, I'm not going to charge you much. 2 years from now, it'll probably be 10 times that. But right now, like, let's build this together. And I mean, they were on board, and they're still on board. They're actually helping at my event on Tuesday.
Awesome.
So it was cool.
Very cool. I love that. And I have questions about that too. But I want to, just for people watching, I have clients who come to me and they're like, I know that you're supposed to do one-on-one coaching, but I don't want to do that. So I love that you're this great example that you don't have to. Like, if you love working with groups or being in front of an audience, like, there's definitely a model that supports that.
Totally, yeah. The one-on-many as opposed to one-on-one,
Yeah. Yeah, so let's dive into that a little because I'm curious and I'm sure everyone watching is curious. But what did it look like for you to work with those people one-on-one and then bring that into a speaking or seminar or workshop experience?
Yeah, I mean, it was very, very hands-on, and the big thing that I love doing in the one-on-ones, and now I'm doing in one-on-many, just in a bigger format, is the whole accountability. Mm-hmm. So, it's one thing for us to teach concepts or to talk about philosophies and that thing, but if no one really takes action and doesn't implement it, then whoop-de-doo, So, and for me, just looking in my experience, and even the areas that I made massive mistakes, is because I was like learning all of this stuff, but then I wasn't taking action on it. So that's been a huge component of my one-on-ones. Is every week we come together either on the phone or through email and decide what their goals are for that week, and then the following week I follow up. And it's like, if they haven't done it, I have no problem kicking their butt. Like, dude, you said you were going to do this. Either like, let's have a good excuse for it, or like, let's, maybe it was too much for you to do that week. So that, for me, it's just like, I love that idea of constant progress, putting one foot in front of the other, So now in the group components, there's going to be a bi-weekly accountability group. So we get together every 2 weeks. As a group, they'll kind of come up with their own individual things that they're going to be working on, and then every couple weeks we'll get together and just check in, you know what I mean? And then interspersed between that will be, learning and teaching and all of that stuff too.
Yeah, awesome. So what has been your experience? I mean, I know that you love the performance aspect of it, having the DJ background, but what has been your experience in terms of challenges or hurdles with stepping into teaching your own content to a group of people from the stage?
Feeling like worthy of it, you know, and like even on Tuesday night at my first event, I mean, there was a number of people in the audience that were significantly older than I was, and that little voice inside of our heads, at least in mine, from my experience, is like, well, what do you have to teach these people, you know? But the interesting thing is a couple of them came up to me after and were just like, oh my gosh, you're half my age, but I learned this, this, and this. Yeah. So that was a nice kind of like gift to like, okay, remind myself. So that was a big kind of challenge, and that's just internally. Another one is, you know, are people going to show up? You know, the hustling that I had to do this last, I mean, it's only been the last 90 days that I've put this event together. I mean, it's been the longest, hardest 90 days of my life, but I mean, it was worth it. And a huge component of that was marketing. Like I didn't do any sort of paid marketing, just because it's a startup, so funds are limited.
Right.
And I really just wanted to tap into my community, the community that I'd built here. And as much as, you know, when you see people socially out for beers, they say, yeah, as soon as you have an event, I'm going to be there. Sometimes you question if they'll actually show up. So that was a big nerve-wracking experience, because when we arrived to the venue on Tuesday night, you know, there's 115 empty chairs, and it seems like a stadium at that point.
Yeah.
And especially this city is notoriously famous for showing up late.
Oh.
So like 10 minutes before the event, it was only about a third filled. And then 10 minutes after, it was like standing room only. So it was quite comical. So that was a big aspect, you know, a big challenge, at least for me. And the other big one was just developing the content. Like, it was a combination of content that I've been delivering in multiple different forms over the last 4 or 5 years, but then bringing it all together. Like, the document that I have for the event, for just the presentation component, was 44 pages.
Wow.
Which is longer than anything I've ever written. But the cool thing is basically it's like, you know, almost a third of a book done now. So I'm looking at it like that. But just getting that and getting the flow, like, there was many days of pulling my hair out and just wondering, like, how is this all going to come together? It makes sense for me in my head, but it's once we actually delivered in person, then we see how it lands. So yeah, that was probably the biggest challenge was the actual presentation itself. Like, I think 9 full rehearsals of it.
Wow.
At home here, and then with my fiance and a couple friends, and then just getting their feedback. So that was interesting. And then the final piece was doing an offer from the stage for my 3-day event. That's the first time I've ever done that, ever, in public.
Really?
So that was terrifying. But it went over well, and people signed up for the event, and people are happy. And really, at the end of the day, one of my closest mentors says that, you know, there's going to be 10% of people that love you, 10% of people that don't like you, and 80% will be somewhere in the middle. So really reminding myself of that.
Yeah. And so what did the marketing look like for you, and the networking aspect too? I mean, I've had my own experience with in-person networking and marketing, but again, a lot of my audience is very focused on online.
Yeah.
And so there's etiquette, there's platforms, there's places for that. But what does that look like for you doing local?
So this time around, it was just developing a spreadsheet of everybody that I knew in the city and authentically reaching out to them. You know, not sending some canned email, like just reaching out to them. And many of them I see on a weekly basis, so that was easy. But some of these people maybe I haven't seen for a year, or just, you know, we interact on Facebook a little bit. So just saying what's up and connecting with them, and then not like shoving the event down their throat, just saying like, yo, this is what I'm doing. You said you were interested in it before. If you're interested in it, I'll send you some details. If not, it's all good. And you know what? Probably 75 to 80% of everybody actually got back to me. And of that, most of them ended up coming.
Awesome.
But it took a lot of work. That's the thing. Like, it was like a lot. I probably actually typed over 1,000 emails in the last month, which just seems crazy, but that's what I had to do.
Well, and I think that's key. What you said is that not a canned response. I mean, I've gotten tons of those where it's like you can tell they changed the first line to something specific to me, but it's not personal, even if I know them. And that's always a little it's just a little weird. So I love that you took the time to write them each an authentic email.
Cool. Yeah, it was fun and cool to reconnect with people that I haven't chatted to for a while. I knew what they're up to, and it was fun.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, how did you know for you that this was the right way to go? I mean, I know that you had the background of it, but what told you, okay, I'm going to keep going in this live event direction versus, oh, everyone's doing the online thing. Maybe I should try that out.
You know what? For me, there was never even a question of it. I knew it was going to be live first and then online second. And it's funny, so many people now are like, yo, when are you going to do this online? And I know eventually, but for me, that didn't seem like Dustin, and I wanted to, pretty much everything that I've done up until this point in my life has been based on like thinking so hard about like, is this truly me? And sometimes that's to my downfall because then I don't end up making a decision. But in this side of things, I knew that I wanted to be on stage first and then move everything to an online platform. And you know what? That might not even be for a few years. It's really, really hard to say at this point. So from my perspective, yeah, it wasn't really a choice, but I know that that's probably the exception, not the rule, especially nowadays. Like everything is online. Everybody, wants to be online or start an online business, what have you. So I can see how that makes sense, and it totally does. Just from my perspective and my background and kind of the way that I like to operate, it wasn't really a choice. I didn't give myself a choice.
Yeah, it's what was authentic and right for you.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Awesome. Well, what would you say to somebody who wants to create a business model or an offering that's unique either to what's going on right now in the online world or the marketing or the business world or just in their industry? What would be your number one piece of advice for them to help them break out of the box?
For me, it would really be about just having the courage to just try things and allow yourself to, I mean, failure is such a big word, but to try things and maybe not have them work out, and to be open to feedback, but also to qualify every piece of feedback that you get. And the only way to qualify the feedback is by getting a ton of it. So if you talk to 3 people and get their opinion, well, you're probably not going to have a good viewpoint of what's actually working for you and not. But if you get feedback from 30 people and, leave the bottom 3 out and the top 3 out and then listen to the middle, that's been a huge thing for me. So for people that want to get into something is like, for sure, first off is just to have that courage to try something. Be open to adjusting the path as it goes, because for the last 2 years, I've adjusted my path quite a bit. First, I was just going to do keynotes. Then I was going to work with high school kids. Then I was going to do these other kind of types of seminars. And then finally, it was like, okay, I'll just do my own thing and create my own thing. But I only really realized that after kind of trying, getting up and falling down over the last couple of years. Hadn't I done that, I probably wouldn't be at the point I'm at right now. And even originally, I was going to host my first event like 6 or 7 months ago, and then I backed out of it about a month before. And at the time, I felt terrible, but it didn't feel right. So at the time, sure, I look at that as a failure, but it was just like, it was a stepping stone to what's going on right now.
Yeah.
And to not look at setbacks as putting you off the path, but they're actually the next step in the path. That's been a huge light bulb moment for me.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing all your wisdom and your experience. And before we sign off, can you tell people where they can find you, how they can learn from you, all that good stuff?
For sure. So my new website is therockstaracademy.com. You can also check out my personal website, which is just dustinhogan.com. And most of my content and whatnot is right on dustinhogan.com right now. The rockstaracademy.com is mostly just serving as a landing page. So if someone lives in Vancouver, they could come to my events. But if you're out of town, it'll be a few years until I'm doing the tour, so to speak. So yeah, check out dustinhogan.com. There's my Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all of that fun stuff on there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.